What is up, my nerds? Welcome back to Roll for Nerdy Check. Another episode in the books. Zach, I have to... 11.
Sticks.
Yes. Hockey. Oh. Pickup sticks. Hey.
Hockey sticks.
Yeah. I was reading an article, and I've seen some ads for it. Cocaine Bear. What can I say about this? I feel like Hollywood is...
I think some would call it. I think complex, deep characters with complicated motives. But understand,
Really?
like, you know, when you get that villain who's got a good backstory and it's like they've had one bad day, and then they kind of turn evil, but you understand why they turn evil. I, too, was a bear that took cocaine. No, I'm just kidding.
It's just like, I don't know. I might feel, I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like Hollywood is like grasping at straws at this point, or they're trying to reach at the bottom of the barrel. They're not coming up with these original great cinematic ideas, and they're like, ooh, they literally have like a Rolodex of cards, and they're like, all right, blah, 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 bear, animal, cool, what we got, blah, 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 does cocaine. I don't know how we're gonna make it work. Go figure it out.
They're doing like the,
ad libs.
The big thing where you spin the wheel.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got cocaine. Interesting start.
Yeah. Drug lord, maybe?
Bear. Ooh, cocaine bear. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now write it. So we talked a little bit about this before we got warmed up, but I think that I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think that people have been saying that Hollywood's running out of ideas for decades. I think that it's just sometimes there are lulls. And the thing is, every time they make a bad movie, people say, oh, Hollywood's running out of ideas. Whenever they make a good movie, nobody's like, hey, Hollywood came up with some ideas. Like, Everything Everywhere all at Once is universally praised as like this amazing, incredible movie, and it is. But nobody, I never heard during the PR, Hollywood's back on track. Like, I think that there is a place for these cult movies for things like Sharknado or Velocipaster, if you've seen it.
I've never seen that one. No.
I think that there's just a place for really shitty, crazy movies that you know the bar is down here. We talk about how I've previously wanted to call this podcast the low bar. That is setting your expectation on the ground and being like, I'm here for some crazy weird shit. I'm not expecting good dialogue. I'm not expecting good acting. I'm expecting some weird shit where a shark gets pulled into a tornado and thrown onto land. I'm here for a bear that did cocaine and is both feeling frisky and also extremely angry at the same time. I think it has a place. It has this cult following style that just, I think it's fun. I just think it's fun.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess I just think of like the National Lampoons, you know, Christmas Vacation's iconic. It's stupid, but it's still clever, and like their writing and stuff like that, like the jokes. I'm so like used to stuff like that where I just read Cocaine Bear and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, like I think the thing about naming the movie Cocaine Bear is that it's you know what you're getting into. Not only do you know that the movie's not going to be a Scorsese cinematic masterpiece, I should say. You know the level of movie you're going to get going in, and you know the premise right off the bat.
What if it's like an M. Night Shyamalan where the bear wasn't high the whole time?
It turns out everyone else was on cocaine the whole time. There was no bear. And they wouldn't it be hilarious? They befriend the bear and they're like, hey man, this bear is super chill. Let's be friends with the bear. The bear starts hanging out with them in the hot tub. The bear's like, let's order pizza. I'm hungry. And they're like, you can talk? And he's like, I'm on cocaine. Of course I can talk. And then at the end of the movie, they all just wake up from a really bad trip and there was no bear.
Yeah, or like they imagine the bear killing the whole town, and it was actually them on a murder spree.
It's like, you know what's funniest about it is that I think it's based on a real premise. Like, I think it's like that doesn't mean everything that happens in the movie is real. I think that somebody heard, oh yeah, a cocaine drug dealer lost, whatever, a huge thing of cocaine, a bear got into it. Isn't that terrifying? We're going to write the story as if, that's all they knew. And they just kind of went off.
Yeah.
But still, I don't hear, will I go see Cocaine Bear in theaters? No. Will I watch it when I am under the influence on the weekend when it finally hits like Hulu? 100%. I think it's going to be one of those experiences where you just go and you're like, this is awful, but you enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it is one of them party movies, like where like you have a group of friends around, drinking
everybody's
beers
laughing,
or something like that.
So it increases.
Yeah, have a good time.
You know when like you have a group of people and they're laughing, so you're laughing, and it just makes the movie experience better.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like movie after movie just seems like Hollywood just coming out with these like random things, and I'm just like, I don't know. I want a good story to be told. I want to be immersed in something.
I think it's very hard to. It's hard because people do this a lot, and I think that our human brains, are trying really hard to find. It groups things together because it's easier. If I say like movies or Hollywood are getting worse because we're getting movies like Cocaine Bear, it's really hard because what we're actually saying is this movie doesn't sound very good, and I don't feel like we would have gotten a Cocaine Bear in the 70s. You know what I mean? Like when Hollywood was not that they were like small time by any stretch in the 70s, but like there's arguably more money and more effort going into entertainment these days than ever before. Which is going, and it's more accessible too as technology. I mean, people who film movies on their iPhones because the camera is good enough and the editing can, software. As technology progresses and things are more easily accessed, I think you're going to get more Cocaine Bears. I think it's crazy it's going into theaters, especially in a post-COVID world. But that said, I think it's really hard to judge all of, I can't judge. I'll use Scorsese earlier. I'll use him again. I can't judge a Scorsese film against Cocaine Bear because that's not fair to both. Like, I think that it is a subset of film, and it's hard to judge all of film on this subset of film. If I judged video games based on mobile games, I would think that all video games were shit. But really, it's just that it's more easily accessible to make your own mobile game than it is to play Hogwarts Legacy.
Right.
Which is still my benchmark.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Maybe I should lower my bar a little bit.
I think you and I will grab a couple beers because we are of age. We'll grab a couple beers. Throw back, get a little tipsy, throw on some Cocaine Bear, and then we can do a review episode. We'll do Roll for Movie Check as an alternative. We'll have another channel,
sub-channel coming out on Wednesdays.
Roll for Movie Check.
Oh my god!
Let us know in the comments if you would watch movies with us.
Yeah. You were talking about Hogwarts Legacy. I'm gonna take a wild guess. Because you were astronomically farther than me. I'm assuming
I have previously stated, and I stand by that I have taken it in as a heroin addict takes in heroin.
Yeah,
just get it in my veins.
I'm assuming you beat it.
I have beaten it. Oh, okay. I have beaten all of the story aspects of it. I am currently going through in what I'm calling map sweeping, which is I have started in the top left corner of the map. I've beaten the main storyline. I've beaten all the friend storylines. Everything is wrapped up with the exception of like, here are some treasure maps. Go figure out what they mean. Or like I haven't beaten all the Merlin trials. I haven't found all the astronomy lookouts. Stuff like that. But that is, in my opinion, 100%ing the game, which I have yet to do, but I have beaten the game. Does that check out?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm map sweeping, which is I've started in the top left corner of the map, and every time I see a thing that needs to be, and then I just kind of like fly and I just kind of do this sweeping motion, and I just kind of hit everything along the way. So I'll go into every treasure vault, hit every Merlin trial, look up every astronomy thing. Sometimes I will find like random side quests, which will be like, oh hey, my Niffler's missing. Can you help me find him? Stuff like that. I've been doing those. So there's still some content there. There's still a little bit of meat left on the bones, but because I've gotten that point, and I've been doing that for a few days now, where I've been like sweeping through, it's fun, and I am level 37 or 38 at this point, so there's really not a lot of things that can slow me down. You talked in a previous episode about how you like the battle arenas. I've been doing the battle arenas because I'm level 38, and so it's mostly, they're not going to beat me, but it's still the most challenging thing I can do at this point. So it is really fun to go in. I always give the trolls an honorable death, is what I call it. So what'll happen is my favorite.
What do you mean?
My favorite thing to do now is that I'll go into these scenarios. Sometimes I'll find them in the wild, but it happens a lot in the battle arenas, where it'll be like an armored troll. So he's got all the armor. He's got his big old thing that he swings. And then there will be like 28 other enemies who are like, we're going to kill you too. And I'm like, I just look at the troll and I'm like, Imperio. And then he kills everyone for me. And then when it's just me and the troll, then I'm like, okay, you're a tough opponent. I'll fight you. So I fight him one-on-one, and I give him an honorable death, which is that I don't use any of the unforgivable curses. On the troll. I just fight it one-on-one. But I'm like, hey man, you and me, we're the big dogs in the room. Let's get all these other guys out of the way and just see who's the better fighter.
You and I go about this completely different.
Let's go 1v1.
Yeah, I always one-shot them first. Yeah, and then I just start murking everyone else. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm."
Oh
here,
no,
bitches.
There's nothing more satisfying to me than being like, "You do the hard work. You do." It's not the hard work; it's the tedious work.
The tedious work, yeah.
It's infuriating because it doesn't work super well on like Acromantula. So like if you're doing like one of the battle rounds where it's like mostly spiders, and the Acromantula will be like the big bad of the group, and I'll be like, Imperio, and it just stands there and it's like,
yeah.
And sometimes if there's like a person, it'll attack the person. I have seen them fight other spiders, but it's rare. It's like they're really fighting it. But like if there's a human, it's like
right.
But yeah, my favorite thing now is just going around and if I find them in the wild, not in the battle arena, but if I'm in the wild and there's like a group of them, to just try to target one who I know is stronger, and I'm like, Imperio. Right. And then I'll like stand on the cliff above as they're like down here fighting themselves, and I'm just like, yes, kill each other. Every now and then, my favorite thing also, I'll pull people up when I'm like above and I'm on a cliff or something. I'll Accio somebody so that they're hovering, and then I'm like, goodbye, and then I depulso them, and then because there's fall damage and they take fall damage, they're like, ah, and then I just watch their health bar go bloop.
You're getting really evil with it.
I have turned to dark. So here's what happened. Even though I am playing, I tried to play this one as close to myself as possible. Maybe I'm just a little evil. I've mentioned previously on the past podcast that we did, He Who Fights with Monsters is with Harry Potter is my favorite book series of all time. The main character has a set of powers that sound very evil and are arguably an evil, so it's like the doom essence, and the like his powers are to like rot and decay, and like but he's always like, I'm not evil just because I have evil powers, I just use them for good. And people are like, are you sure you're not evil? I like, if it's good enough for Jason Asano, it's good enough for me. If I can use these evil spells to do good in the universe, then is it inherently evil? So I've been using my evil powers for good. Okay. I just channel it's like Dexter. I channel my murderous evil sprees to terrible people so that it does good for the world.
Yeah.
But I did just restart a second character because I'm map sweeping, and map sweeping gets a little tedious at times, and I do want to go through and 100% the game because I love this game so much that I want it to be something that I have been like, I have literally explored every aspect, every detail. I've every challenge that is set by the developers, I have completed that. I want to be able to say that I did that, and I'm really hoping. I don't think there will be, but I'm really hoping that when I like complete all the Merlin trials, that there's like a cutscene at the end. It doesn't have to do anything special, but it would be cool to have like a cutscene where, like, you know, when you do a Merlin trial, it does like the leaves kind of form Merlin for a second and then they disapparate.
Yeah.
It would be cool if this time when you complete the Merlin trials, if like the old woman who gave you the Merlin trials shows up and it's like, wow, you beat them all. That's amazing. And then like a little like more ghost-like version of Merlin appears and it's like, oh, I never thought anyone would be able to you like my British accent? I never thought anyone would be able to complete my Merlin trials. You are truly a wizard among, you are truly Hogwarts' greatest blah, blah, blah. And it just can be that. It doesn't have to give me anything. I don't need an item out of it. I don't need an achievement out of it. I just think it would be cool if they gave you something for completing it, because it is so long and tedious that. So I'll report back once I've finished my map sweeping. Let you know if, like, when you find all the astronomy stones, if the astronomy kid comes up to you and is like, wow, you've done all the things. Good job. I love those little details, and it seems like this game is pretty good about giving you those little details, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure other people who have done them could tell you, but I'm keeping my eyes closed on it. I've been trying not to let the internet in on Hogwarts Legacy until I completed it, so that it, like, when criticisms start coming in, I don't let it influence how I feel about things. I can appreciate it. If somebody says, oh, like when we were talking about how at night everyone just kind of disappears, but why do a quest where you have to avoid prefects who are combing the halls, but then not have them combing the halls outside of that quest? Little details like that, I try not to take those in until I've gotten to that point, because I don't want to preemptively have a negative mindset going in. So I'm now getting to the point where, like, great, I'm willing to listen to the internet, see some criticisms. I've sent you a couple TikToks of like jokes. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I sent you one. There's this really funny TikToker who was like, me every time I enter Hogsmeade. Seems like all roads lead to Hogsmeade. And it's like, just keep it to yourself for once. You just think it in your dumb head. Just think it to yourself. I don't need to hear it. And he's like, but all roads do lead to it. It doesn't matter. He goes, between you and the flue powder lady, off on another adventure. Obviously. I am obviously off on another adventure. Stop scaring the shit out of me in the dark in Hogwarts because, oh, where are you headed this time?
Dude, she does scare you. Like, I'll be like running
she scares
around.
The shit out of me.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I hear, oh, for another. I'm like, oh my god! And like, what the hell?
The worst is she'll say in this like really kind of like not creepy tone, but like especially when I was playing the game and I didn't realize that like that you wouldn't run into a teacher in the dark or something, that like there weren't going to be consequences. She would be like, "What are you up to now?" And I'm like,
yeah.
So I'd be like combing through the castle in the dark, and I'd be like, hopefully I don't get in trouble for going through the dark. What are you up to now? And I'm like, nothing. I'll go back to my common room.
Yeah, so have you decided what you're going to play as another character? Or are you going to choose...
Yeah, so I'm playing a female character this time because I'm going to do 2 as a guy, 2 as a girl. And then I'm going to do 2 good... I did the first playthrough as just kind of me. The next playthrough, I want to do evil. I want to do like a full-on, like, be an asshole, give the asshole response, pick the dark magic spells, which I already kind of did. Although I will say I don't know Avada Kedavra, and I don't want to give spoilers to the end of the Sebastian storyline, but essentially I chose to not learn that spell, and then I made some other decisions, and now I just can't learn it. It's unlearnable to me, which is not a huge deal because I have all my other OP magic, but like, did you learn it? You learned it, didn't you?
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah. I'm low-key very mad because I waited really long to start taking dark arts traits. And I just realized that there's one that is, if you use the killing curse on any enemy, it kills all enemies that have been cursed.
Yeah.
So if there's like 5
off,
enemies that have been cursed, and I have the thing that Stupefy curses enemies for me.
Curses
so
people,
I'm constantly cursing people. And I also use the other unforgivables all the time. It's just fun. It's just fun to be like, there's an enemy, Crucio.
Now, I stand by this. I did learn it. But I am a vigilante. I am not evil. I use my dark powers for good.
Right. We talked about this, which is like, if you use your evil things for good, then are you necessarily evil? It is a philosophical question, which I am happy to explore while I torture people with my evil spells.
But yeah, I have the same thing.
If you can take a Puffskein, the cutest, fluffiest little bitch on the planet, and stick it in a cage to kill it, then I don't feel bad for torturing you.
Yeah. I mean, so like I had the same thing you have where my dark magic tree is pretty much where it needs to be, maxed out. It's maxed out. So anytime I use like Stupefy or use I think it's Expel. Is it Expelliarmus?
They have a handful. Like Flipendo does it. Expelliarmus does it.
Yeah, Expelliarmus. So I start cursing everyone, and then Avada Kedavra just fucking ends it all.
Okay, so I know you don't play board games as often as I play board games, which we're gonna fix. But there are in a lot of games there are you're building an engine essentially. So you're trying to build it so that your deck or your board game is feeding itself. So I found that like the game kind of has similar, like you can build up an engine. So the way I do things, my like main attacking is I have Accio to pull them in, and then I have Incendio, which does the like wave of fire out. So, and because it's so powerful, but it's really short range. Incendio only goes like 4 feet in front of you. So I do Accio to pull them in, and I have the one that like pulls multiple people towards me. I have Incendio, which does like a burst outwards of a very powerful fire blast. And then I usually swap in either Bombarda or Confringo, because my Confringo also, I shoot the fire and then it hits people nearby. So that, and then Defendo usually. So it's usually pull them in, blow them up, shoot them again with fire and make it shoot outward, and then Defendo to cut them down. But I've realized that if I take, on my next playthrough, if I do the Cursed, the Dark Object, because again, I did Cursed Dark Arts traits very late in the game. So every time I need a new trait, it takes exponentially longer. Because I'm like I started doing it level like 30. So it takes a while to get to 31, 32, 33, and now I'm at like 37, 38, and I'm like, I think it caps on 40, I'm going to guess, level 40. But because I can't do the killing curse, like the main buildup that I would do is do as many things that cause cursing as possible, and then you just hit an Avada Kedavra, and it just kills everybody. So I didn't realize that. I didn't pick up the killing curse, and so now like my dark arts traits are helpful. They have some cool ones in there, like if you hit somebody with who's been crucioed with a normal spell, it like shoots another spell out, which is all really cool. But I now knowing that that's the engine that I can build, where it would be like Expelliarmus, Flipendo, Crucio, Killing Curse, and just hit them in that order, so that, and then also the Stupefy, so that whenever I'm countering spells, it's also cursing people, and then just being like, okay, we've got 4 curses, kill. That's probably what I'm going to go through. So I'm going to go through this second build as an evil lady. And I think, okay, so I have a whole process of elimination. I did Ravenclaw the first time, loved it. Ravenclaws, shout out. You started as a Ravenclaw as well, and then you had your game glitch issue. And so you started again as a Slytherin. A lot of my other friend group is also Slytherin right now. So even though I really want to jump in, I think being an evil Slytherin is very cliche. And I don't necessarily want to lean into that cliche. So my other options are Hufflepuff and Gryffindor. My wife took Hufflepuff on the first playthrough. Bryn is being a wholesome little happy Hufflepuff, who also wrecks people pretty hard. So that leaves me with Gryffindor. Now, I think picking Gryffindor is not unsimilar to picking Mario in Mario Kart. It's not that it's a bad choice, it's just that, like, come on, bro. Haven't you explored the Gryffindor story enough through the original Harry Potter series?
Yeah, so, like, when I saw people, like, starting the game, and they pick Gryffindor, I'm like, look,
it's a basic bitch choice. I get it, but you're basic bitches.
I was like, but that's why I didn't pick Gryffindor. I was like, I want to try.
And you are, in my opinion, a Gryffindor. If I had to sort you myself, you have a lot of creative in you, but you also have this like boldness that you just kind of go into new things with your whole heart and your whole spirit, and you don't like hesitate. Where me as a Ravenclaw, I have to like research things before I start doing stuff. So I would place you as a Gryffindor, not as an insult, but just because I think that's how I personally would sort you. But no shame in the game of not picking Gryffindor right off the bat, especially because, like, you know what the common room looks like, kind of. Yeah,
exactly,
I'm sure that the game is going to be different than straight up from the movies, but they do let the movies influence the game a bit, which is a smart choice, in my opinion, to mix both what we've seen in the movies as well as what we've read in the books and what they wanted to add to it. I think there's a three-way combination there that works really well. But because the Gryffindor common room was the most explored in the movies, I think the only one explored in the movies. No, they did Slytherin just a little bit.
Other than like a scene in the Slytherin common room.
A single scene. There was a lot of scenes in them. And also, in their credit, it's also explored pretty deeply in the books, and I don't feel like we got all of what we heard in the books, so I think it could be interesting. But just by process of elimination, because it's the one that none of my friends have done yet, and that I can't get reported back on. I know that Hufflepuffs get a quest, like a house quest, that takes them briefly to Azkaban. And I think Slytherin takes them briefly somewhere else that's cool. And I can't remember. They had like another house quest that sounded pretty cool. I don't know if Gryffindor has a cool house quest, and I know Ravenclaw got kind of shortchanged on the side quest, which
doesn't make sense. I don't know why. Why do you think the developers did that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not that I was unsatisfied playing through with Ravenclaw, but it was my first playthrough. So I might look back in the future and say, actually, yeah, Ravenclaw did get shortchanged the most. Because I enjoyed my Ravenclaw playthrough. I enjoyed the side quests I got out of it. I think Ravenclaw, so have the Daedalian keys where you get like, have you beaten that in yours yet?
I have not. I'm almost done. Getting all the keys,
spoiler, the thing you get is like a specific house robe.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Hufflepuff one, I've seen the Ravenclaw one. I haven't seen Slytherin or Gryffindor, but the Ravenclaw one is a banger. And the internet tends to agree that the Ravenclaw one is the best one. I think that the Slytherin one's going to be really good. I don't have super high hopes for the Gryffindor one. But I don't know. So I've decided I literally last night popped open a new one because they let you have multiple save stories with it. They have the multiple save files, and then you have multiple save stories. I think they did 4, so you can do one of each house.
Right.
So I picked I made her a Ginger, because and I made her a Weasley, which I think is going to be fun. So her name is Alexandria Weasley. And I think that it'll be interesting because I'm kind of retconning being a side branch of the Weasley family because she's a Gryffindor and she's a Ginger, and like, why not? It'll be interesting because they have, but I want to see, am I going to have more interactions with the Weasley kid whose name I can't remember, he's kind of like Fred and George, but I think he's more of a dick.
He's annoying, dude. I can't stand his ass.
It's so funny because I'm like, is this just objectively how I would feel about Fred and George? Because like, you don't get to see the like fun side of them. You just see the like, hey, do this bad thing for me so that I can fuck it up. But then when it's successful, it's because like on the one hand, he's like in the story, spoilers, he's like, at least in the playthrough I played through, he's like, hey man, you're new here. Can you steal this thing for me? And I'm like,
oh, I'm thinking about that different person.
And I'm like, maybe, I guess I'll steal a thing because you're a Weasley and like I'd like to be cool with you. And then I like steal the thing, and then his potion explodes, and like he's like, I know that whoever did this and blah blah blah, and like he's like, well, it happens. I was trying to do something cool, but like mistakes happen. And I'm like, yeah, but you got me in trouble in the process. I didn't get in a ton of trouble, but like still, you could have like gotten us both in trouble, bro. And then he's like, hey, you want to know how to get into Honeydukes through the secret passage? And I'm like, yes. So now I have to interact more with this asshole.
I thought you were talking about see, I don't think he's too much of an asshole. I thought you were talking about the other kid who has orange hair, who thinks he's better than you. So you like play him in like, you fight him in the wizard's duel. I mean, in like the dueling competition in Hogwarts. Or you also play him against him in like the Accio challenge. And he's like,
oh, that asshole.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, dude, he's so condescending. And then he's like the weakest on the fucking thing, the Accio tournament. I forget what it's called, but
so
like
I lost to him one time,
Percy
right?
Weasley.
Yeah, exactly. So I lost to him one time, and he's like, I guess I'm just better than you. And I was like, I wanted to reach the fucking computer screen. I wanted to choke him out. I was like,
the only reason I've
kill you.
The only reason I completed that quest was because, I was very bad at it at first because I didn't realize that, like, when you're doing
Accio, hold the trigger.
You have to hold both the button and the trigger. So I would let go of the button, and then it would keep coming at 80 miles an hour. And it's like, you have to be very specific about when you let go of Accio. And like, I did it as, like, a fun thing. I was like, oh, this is, a tutorial training on how to use Accio. And so I'm let's have fun. Like, Accio, I lost. And he was like, maybe you could use more practice if you can come anywhere near beating me, but you seem like a blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm about to get real good at this game real fast, you little bitch.
And then comes to find out he's like the weakest opponent.
Then he comes out and he's like, actually, they barely let me in. And I'm like, then why are you treating me like I'm a piece of shit? You would think you would empathize with that, you jackass.
So when he's like, okay, maybe you're a little good. And then I picked the saying, like, how about you just admit that I'm better than you? And he's like, okay, you're right. You're better than me. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, like, yeah. I'm glad you know, because I know. Fuck that guy. No, I meant I think it's not Charlie. I keep naming actual Weasleys from the story.
I know who you're talking about. He has like curly hair. He has curly hair.
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm writing myself in as a Weasley, but I know I think it would be really cool if the game acknowledged it in some way, but I don't think it will. I think that's a little bit too far into the like, wouldn't it be cool territory. But I'm unofficially adding. I'm like, when people do like fanfics where they add themselves in or they like make an extra character that doesn't. That's me. I'm like, I'm a Weasley too, and they're like, my cousin's a Weasley and she's the professor, and I'm like, I'm a Weasley, and they're like, no, you're not, and I'm like, but me, it says Weasley in my name. Yeah. Yes, I literally, I'm like, I'm past the first cutscene. That's it. I'm like, they're literally giving me the tutorial right now. So I'll report back soon. I haven't even sorted myself into a house yet, so I could always change it last minute. But I think I'm sticking with Gryffindor. I think I'll probably do in this order. I did Ravenclaw. I'm going to do Gryffindor next. I think then I'm going to do Slytherin, and then I'm going to round out with Hufflepuff. Not hate to Hufflepuff, but I've literally watched it the second most thus far because Bryn is playing it that way. So when she shows me stuff, I get to see some of it. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a lot of her Hufflepuff side of things. So no hate on Hufflepuffs. If I did not have Bryn playing as a Hufflepuff, if she had started as a Gryffindor, I would have done Hufflepuff second.
You know what's going to be the worst, though, for you? And I'm not... Maybe it won't be. But it struggle with me. So it's almost the concept of when I used to play the Batman Arkham games. And, like, I'd beat them, and I'd get really good at it. And then, like, I'd start over.
Then you have to start over without the spells of the power.
Exactly. You can't have the shit that you got good with. And, like, the same setups. So, like, you have to, like, relearn it, essentially.
So that's why I'm going to play such contrasting characters. Because my first playthrough was like mostly accurate to me, and in reality, I'm not a bad person, though I play one on TV. And with like some evil things sprinkled in, but I mostly tried to stay like a good, nice character. So this time I'm going to play through as an asshole, and I'm going to play through trying to go up the dark arts trait as much as possible. So like the reason I told you the like combinations that I do is that like I'm going to try really hard not to make that my combinations again this time, so that I can like almost relearn a different style of playing where it'll be more dark arts and cursed based, and then build up my other stuff. And that's one of the reasons I like that they give you the different house save files, is that like I still want to take care of my Fantastic Beasts and my Ravenclaw style, and that's another thing I'll probably do is change up my room of requirement to have a different like visual theme. It'll be a little darker, a little, you know, this will be green themed or red themed or whatever the case may be. I'm going to try to make them as different as possible because I do think the game gives you the ability to make things different while being the same. So I'm going to try to make it as different as possible while also playing the same storylines. You're
playing on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
So spam Y as much as possible when you go to cutscenes because it'll skip through.
I don't know. I think I might for like the ones that are like the main storyline. Probably gonna skip those.
The
but like
newer,
on the friend
newer
ones,
stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
like if you have newer
I'll
stuff,
probably end up skipping like 40% of them. But because I want to react evilly this time, I'm gonna pay attention to what they're saying so that I can be like, "Fuck you, fuck your Niffler, I don't care."
Oh man, it's gonna be interesting. I think that'd be really interesting. Character development of a evil Gryffindor.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do it because like they have Peter Pettigrew is an evil Gryffindor. I was like, the thing is, even evil Slytherin is just too much of a cliche. I would rather be when I play Slytherin, I'm going to be like the most wholehearted, wholesome, loving, kind Slytherin that there is, because they don't do that often.
Yeah.
There's even in this game, there's like things that happen with Slytherins where they're just kind of like, well, I chose the evil option, and I'm like, it makes sense, and it shows the ambition of like, I'm not afraid to do whatever I need to get what I want, and if that's evil, that's evil, and if that's not evil, that's not evil, but like anything's on the table. It's a very tropey Slytherin thing, so that's why I want to be like, Gryffindors, in my opinion, are just as likely to be evil because their bravery and their courage can be twisted pretty easily. You can take a Gryffindor who says, I'm being brave by choosing to use dark arts. I'm being brave to do these things that are against the law, but I feel that they're right. Because they might not necessarily see the law as right, and so breaking the law could be considered brave and courageous. There's nothing in the Gryffindor house that says you have to be a hero. It just says that you have to be brave and bold. Well, it's easy to be brave and bold and rationalize it. I mean, how many evil people in the world have used their thing, religion or their viewpoint or their country or whatever, as a means to an end to do something terrible? And say that, like, well, my God, my country, my law says that this is good, and to rebel against that or to use those things as a catapult for evil is a really complex story that I would want to explore through an evil Gryffindor.
And that's why when I picked Slytherin, I was like, I don't want to be the written story of Slytherins are bad, because I'm like, it's such a cop-out type thing to me, where just because they're in this house, they're sort of this house, doesn't mean they can't be good people. So that's why I'm like, I'm nice to everyone. Like in the castle, like if I'm doing something for people, I'm really nice to them, unless they deserve to be.
Right,
unless they're assholes to me, then I'm like, I'm asshole. But then when it like goes to like the poachers or the enemies, I'm just a straight up murderer. So like when it comes to that, so that's why I say I'm like a vigilante. And to the lore of Harry Potter, Merlin, the great Merlin, was a Slytherin, and he was a good wizard. Yeah. So
I love that I don't remember if they ever said it in the books. I don't think they did, but that Merlin is obviously mentioned a lot. They use the terms Merlin's beard or Merlin's underwear, like as like a oh fuck. But I don't know if they ever canonized that he was a Slytherin or not. which I don't even know if they canonized that he had gone to Hogwarts, which was interesting because it was always like, which came first, Merlin or the Founders? So to have them confirm it in this game, and I consider this game canon now, that he was in fact a Slytherin and that he attended Hogwarts pretty early, but was a Slytherin. And I'm like, great, big win for Slytherin House, in my opinion, because they could have easily made Merlin a Gryffindor, and I would have been like, of course.
Right, exactly. So, like, and I agreed with you, but also what made me wonder, I was like, when they're like, yeah, Merlin was a Slytherin, he came here at Hogwarts, and it's like, when it first opened, I'm like, how the fuck old is this castle, man?
Right.
Like,
are we
Jesus.
talking 1600s? Are we talking 1400s? Are we talking 1100s?
Like Jesus. You had a guy who was at the round table
in 900 BC. We know Christ. He was actually a Ravenclaw. Jesus Christ himself was a Hufflepuff.
Like, damn.
Wouldn't you think he was a Gryffindor? You would think, but he was friendly and loyal. That's all Hufflepuff, baby.
Yeah. So it was just crazy when they're like, yeah, Merlin went here. I'm like, the dude from the King Arthur story was through the round table was here?
Right.
Like, what the hell?
No, I love it. I absolutely love that they canonized it, that he went to Hogwarts and was a Slytherin. So I'm excited to see. We're a little reluctant on the Gryffindor side of things, but I think it'll be fun. It'll be nice, if nothing else, to start my common room place in a different spot. And this time I'm going to know more likely where the moonstones are, the demiguise statues. So that I can get to Alohomora a little more easily. I think that, so when I played the first playthrough, my Ravenclaw playthrough, I consumed it like heroin. Like, I played it, not every free moment I had went towards that. So I played it, I gobbled it up. I'm gonna, on this second playthrough, I'm a big board game player. You know how often I have like game nights. Brent and I play board games a bunch on the weekends with each other or on weekends with each other. There's going to be a return to that. I kind of put everything else on pause to play through this game. And I'm going to keep playing this game, but it's going to be on a more rotational basis. So it might take me a little longer to play on a second time, but I'll keep you posted.
But I'll tell you too, for me, going to maybe a quarter of the way through with a Ravenclaw to doing Slytherin, I actually got to the point where I was at. You'll be able to go through, since you, like you said, you know where things are. You kind of know what you can hit on right now to kind of get you to a progressive level to where you can start murking people again. Fairly quickly. So you'll be fine. You'll get to the point where
there's also, it's going to be streamlined because so much of my first playthrough, and I'll still do this because I still appreciate it, but there's nothing like the first impressions that you get of things. So to be able to play through, I spent a lot of time, and I know, because I played at the same time as Bryn and you and a bunch of other my friends. The first night that it came out, a bunch of us jumped into a group chat just to kind of be like, "Whoa, do you see this? Whoa, do you see that?" Unfortunately, a lot of us played as the same two houses, so there was a lot less of it was like, "Whoa, do you see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm awesome." But I think that this second playthrough, because I won't spend as much time being like, wow, look at the detail here, or oh, I'm just gonna stand over here and appreciate this. I think that it'll go faster because I'm trying to bump. The first time I played through, I spent a lot of time in the castle, just kind of exploring every inch of the castle. And because I remember how early on I was I wish I could memorize the castle. I don't have it all memorized, but I know where I'm going for the most part. I know how to. I told you in a previous episode, I know how to get from the common rooms to the Great Hall now. There's going to be a lot more of that as I go through, but because I know where I'm going more, it will lead to a faster playthrough because there will be less, Oh, I don't know where I'm going. I'll just kind of stumble in this direction. Oh, I found a side quest. Oh, I found one of those paintings that needs Lumos where you bring the butterfly to it. Oh, stuff like that is going to be, I'm just going to be able to kind of where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I think that'll make for a faster playthrough. But because I'm going to be slowing down on the frequency of which I'm playing, it's not going to be every waking second of any free moment I have will not be dedicated to this game anymore.
Right.
But I'm still going to play through. My goal long term is to still play through this game through every house and complete every house. I'm hoping that by the time I get to like my third or fourth playthrough, DLC will be out. And this is something I wanted to jump into. I know we have another topic that we want to hit, but I hadn't run this by you, and I kind of want to see your thoughts.
We can. It's
our
a free
podcast.
reign.
We can talk about.
Yeah, we can do what we want. Yeah.
I think so. Everybody says that Quidditch will probably be a DLC at some point. I agree, but I think people think it's going to come first. And here's what I would do. So, can I give a little bit of a spoiler to something that won't happen at the end of the game for you?
Sure.
This is something that I was disappointed about, which is surprising because this game has been bangers. You do not take your OWLs at any point throughout this game, which is frustrating to me because it's mentioned so frequently. You have to get good because it's your OWL year. You have to learn the spell. We have to catch you up. You have to be able to take your OWLs at the end of this year. And then you don't take them. And now I do think that sets up for a DLC, an OWL DLC. But it was a little disappointing because they put you in 5th year, which is the year you take your OWLs. It seems very specific to pick that year of OWL year. Why not just make it a 3rd year or a 4th year at that point? OWL year is very specific. Then they go on to mention your OWLs quite frequently throughout the game. It's an old pro wrestling move, which is don't create hype for a match that won't happen. Which is a similar concept here. It's don't put me in OWL year, mention my OWLs frequently, tell me that I need to get good at spells because I'm taking my OWLs at the end of the year, and then not have me take those OWLs. You're building to a story that won't happen. It's a same thing in improv. Don't build towards a climax that you can't do. So in improv, they say like a perfect example, I was doing improv at one point and we were talking about, we're standing in line for a roller coaster. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And, our teacher was like, hey, I appreciate the scene you gave us, but the whole scene was waiting in line for a roller coaster. So the natural climax to that story is getting on or riding the roller coaster. And you can do that in improv, but you're just going to be sitting there being like, it's fine, but you have to, if you're going to build a story, don't waste energy. Don't talk about OWL year. Don't talk about taking your OWLs. Don't talk about testing for them and then not do it. So I'm hoping they'll do DLC for this, but here's what I think is coming. I think that in order to give themselves more time to build up Quidditch and make it run functionally, because even though we have a lot of the mechanics, there's still a lot of difficulties in making a sports system in a game.
Yeah.
I think what they should do is wrap up the year. Do a DLC where I would like to say, do a DLC where you take your OWLs. It can be a mini DLC. Get your grades, and then do a 6th year. And then in that 6th year, make it the Triwizard Tournament. So,
okay.
Because at that point, they're doing it quite frequently. In the Harry Potter books, they say they took a long break from it because a student died, and that's bad PR. This would be a perfect opportunity to say, well, we would have been bringing back Quidditch this year, but instead, Hogwarts is going to be hosting the Triwizard Tournament. And it plays into the mechanics of the game so well because you have these tasks, you have these tournaments, you have these prep that you have to do. And then you could say that the Ashwinders have found a new leader who's going to be leading them into, and so you can bring back those characters, or you can keep all of that stuff there. But I think that it builds really well to a video game style, which is you have the first task, and then you do the task, and it's a big thing, and it's a main quest thing, and then you have a couple months off where it's like, you're going to need to learn some other spells to be prepped for the second task. So you take more classes, you take your NEWT classes to really up your difficulty. Maybe you can learn some dark arts. Maybe there could be a whole dark arts underthread where there's like a teacher who's like, oh, I can teach you the real magic. If you know what I mean? Like, you can build that whole story out around the Triwizard Tournament, and then have that be the climax of your 6th year. And then in your 7th year, do another DLC down the line that is your 7th year that includes Quidditch. Or maybe that's Hogwarts Legacy 2, and that includes it.
Does the books go into detail on what the OWLs were? Because in the movies, the OWLs was a written exam. Is it not supposed to be a written exam?
It's both. It is both a written exam and a practical exam. And it is the wizard equivalent of your SATs.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be like you get a written exam and then you get a practical exam, and then those two scores combine, and you're graded based on, like, instead of A, B, C, D, E, they do like E exceeds expectations, A is acceptable, O is, I think, the best score, which is outstanding. So I think it goes O for outstanding, E for exceeds expectations, A for acceptable, and then you get into D for dreadful and T for troll, and I think I'm missing one, but
T for troll.
T for troll. And like that's like an embarrassingly bad score. That's like getting an E on your SATs. And then they have the NEWTs. So OWLs is outstanding wizarding something, and then newts are like next level extremely difficult wizarding test or something like that. So that's like the SATs 2.0 or whatever's above the SATs. I never got that far. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal, because when you take your OWLs in 5th year, it determines what classes you can take in your 6th and 7th year. So years 1 through 5 is supposed to be kind of like high school, and then years 6 and 7 are supposed to be kind of college, except they kind of merge them together. I'm sure a British person could tell me better. But it seems like in Hogwarts, it's you take your 1st through 5th years to get your basics down. And then depending on how well you score on those, that's 5th year is also the year where where they're like, what do you want to do with your life? You're going to need to specialize in certain classes for that. So if you're trying to be an Auror, you need to be able to score highly on defense against the dark arts, score highly on potion making, and score highly on charms. Whereas if you're trying to be like a potion maker, like I'm trying to open up a potion shop. Okay, well, you need to have good potion making. You also need to have good understanding of like history, because you'll need to know what potions work well and blah blah blah, stuff like that. So it's like you have to have an O in your potions if you want to move on to a potions heavy field, or if you're trying to progress magic, if you want to work for the ministry in the like creative like the department that pushes magic forward to discover new things. It's what the old woman is, the defense against the dark arts teacher, and unspeakable, I think is what they're called, because they're not allowed to talk about what they do there. So like in the books, we kind of discovered that they're like tampering with time. They're like trying to discover magic that affects time forwards and backwards. And so it's like really like top secret clearance stuff. So in that, you would probably need to have an O in charms, an O in defense against the dark arts, an O in potion, because all of it matters. Stuff like that. So it's like, oh, you want to be an unspeakable? Well, you have to have these scores on your exams. So it's a really crucial part of the story, and why I felt a little jibbed, because I was like, hey, I'm a Ravenclaw. I want to take the test. Give me a practical exam that is like the Accio game that we were talking about, where you pull the thing forward. That could be your practical charms exam. is like you have to score 100, or if you're, what your score gets determines what your grade is. And then you could even do like a little quiz. What spell would you use to blah? And then you would pick it. It's very easy to do. They could have easily done it and they didn't. And that's why I think it'll come as a DLC, because it's so easy and because it was hyped. But if they don't, I'm going to be sad. It's a big thing to be missing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Especially if they're hyping it up like that.
Yeah, if you talk about it a bunch, it's unsatisfying to not get that thing. If they hadn't mentioned OWLs or had mentioned it once in passing, I would have been like, welcome to Hogwarts. It's your 5th year. It's your OWL year, so study hard. And then not mentioned it at all. But like the whole premise of the teacher side of this is you have to get better at your spells to catch you up so that you will be ready for your OWLs. And then I do, and I become a beast. And it doesn't matter because they don't quiz me on it. They don't test me on it.
Yeah.
Like it matters to the plot, but like they could have done that without the OWLs.
Yeah, like, hey, a 5th year student needs to have this knowledge. They should know these spells, so just come learn these spells. You don't have to, like, preference, hey, it's for your OWLs. Yeah. So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But since I could talk about this all the time, let's switch topics. There was a Pokemon Direct that happened a couple weeks ago that I wanted to just touch on some of the stuff they're talking about because there's some cool stuff coming. We are a general nerdy podcast, even though I'm a huge Harry Potter person, and so I will talk a lot about that.
I saw like it had like a Pokemon Go update, and I won't try to harp on this too much, especially with the time we got. I just think when Pokemon Go first came out, I thought it was the greatest idea ever. It was cool, especially for us being Pokemon nerds, able for us to get out and do things. But it kind of died off, and then it came back, and then it seemed like it died off, and now it's coming back again. I don't know. I might be in the minority, but I just feel like it's just something. I understand the concept, but maybe that type of concept should just die off and have a different type of,
So it's funny that you mentioned that it came out hot, and then it died down. And then it got hot again, and then it died down. Because I was part of every one of those waves, both up and down. So when it first came out, and I hate to sound like when it first came out, buddy, it had much better. But when it first came out, the mechanic style of finding Pokemon was like, this Pokemon is 3 steps away from you, so you know it's a little further away. This Pokemon is 2 steps away from you, so it's a little closer.
Yeah.
This Pokemon is 1 step away from you. You can pretty much like walk in a bigger circle and probably find it. And it was the exploration of it, and then they changed that. And that was hard because that was when everyone wanted to go out because you're finding Pokemon at that point. It's shit. An Ivysaur just popped up on my radar. How cool is that? I have to go find me an Ivysaur. And now it tells you there's an Ivysaur near a Pokestop. But like, I don't know people who use that mechanic. Mostly people just open it up and see what poofs around them. Like, okay, I'm going to open up my game. Oh, cool. Poof. There's 9 Rattata and a Pidgey near me. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't go out and explore. I just check what's near me.
Yeah.
So, and this is the perspective I remember reading about. Take it with a grain of salt, but I know that part of the problem was that there were a bunch of third-party people who were able to pull up Pokemon maps, and you could it would be like, in the United States, show me every Charmander that's appearing right now, and it would tell you, or you could say, show me whatever's in a 2-mile radius, and then narrow it down based on, I don't want Pidgeys, I don't want a Magnemite, and then you see like an Ivysaur, and you're like, oh, Ivysaur, like, cool, like, where is that? And then it would be like, it's over, because at the time they had to physically generate a Pokemon into the map. So it would say, this Pokemon is approximately, over by the Walmart. And so you could then get in your car, drive over to Walmart. And I think that they hated that because they wanted people going out and exploring, not just going for a specific thing, but they wanted less of these third-party developers to be able to do this, to jump in and say, oh, you can do this map, or you can check this thing, or you can do whatever. And they still have them, or at least last I checked, which was years ago, they still had them. But they were much less efficient. They were mostly people reporting where things were showing up rather than literally being able to point you in a specific direction. And that for me killed a lot of it, because that was when people were, the videos of people in like New York City where they would be like, Vaporeon! And like herds of people, I mean hundreds of people would just run across the park to get over to that area. That just doesn't happen anymore. And I don't think that's fatigue. Yeah. I don't think that's time fatigue. I think that it is that they changed the exploration from it. It became less about exploring your community. And I understand that there was some trespassing issues. There was some probably false arrests happening for trespassing. And there were definitely times where you're like, I don't know if I should be walking through a graveyard at 3 a.m. But
yeah.
But like
I remember
that
when
said,
it first came out.
That shouldn't be on the developers you could put, that's why they put that little thing on that was like when you first line, and they still do it, which is amazing to me. That's like, please be aware of your surroundings. Please be conscious of like areas you shouldn't be going in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just killed it for me because it didn't become a game of, I want to go explore my community and see what Pokemon I can find. It became a game of what's around me, and when I'm in different spots, I'll check different things. But there was no reason for me to go look. And I think that they then also started to overwhelm with, they would run certain Pokemons for certain time, and so it would be like, oh, there's a bunch of Pidgey in my area because they're pushing Pidgey really hard right now, instead of just like a genuine, like, I don't know, it just felt less and less like the Pokemon experience if you were in the real world.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, you like when you and Brim were living in your townhouse, I used to drive up to you guys and we used to walk for miles all the time.
Yeah, it was not just
getting exercise.
We did that with many people, where we would get a group together and be like, you guys want to, because that townhouse community was very big and had a lot of parks in it. So we would just like walk through the community and be like, oh shit, there's a Charmeleon over somewhere nearby. And we would all kind of like branch out a little bit, and then somebody would find it, and then we would all join that person.
Yeah, like it understood. So I understood the concept of why Pokemon Go came. It was a way to get people to be active without saying, hey, go exercise. It was just like, hey, I'm going to give you a thing to achieve. So like you and I would walk for miles. You know, and not realize we were walking for miles because we were on the hunt for a fucking Warp Turtle or a Charmeleon.
And you would
something.
do like a lap around your neighborhood, and then you would start to be like, okay, once this lap's done, we'll go. And then you'd get to the end of the lap, and something would pop up, and you'd be like, well, we gotta go. I don't have a Magnemite. We gotta go get one.
But like, dude, the Nidoking over there. Like, oh, let's go get a Nidoking, man.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So.
No, and then the problem is that they tried to keep the best of both worlds, in my opinion. So I ended up getting the Pokemon Plus, not the Pokeball. They sold a Pokeball that you could get to like, that would like just register for you. I got the one that it's just like a little fucking device.
Is it a tag?
Big.
Like a little tag.
It's got a little tiny baby screen on it. And what happens is I can turn it on. It syncs with my game, and it just automatically will spin any Pokestop that I pass. It sometimes takes a little while. It's on a delay system, so it works so. And it would also automatically, anytime a Pokemon would appear, it throws a Pokeball, and just if it catches it on the first ball, then I keep it, and if it doesn't, then it runs away. Which is fine, because I wouldn't catch those anyway, because I'm not playing the game in the moment. It's supposed to be a way to play the game without playing the game. And it was great. It was really good for shiny hunting, because you're touching every Pokemon at that point. And when you touch every Pokemon, you're more likely to come across shinies, and then you're more likely to catch those shinies when you just wouldn't have seen them otherwise. So it's really great. And like, so like when my wife works on a college campus, so that is still a very heavy community. There's still a lot of people playing. There's a lot of Pokestops, and as a result, there's also a lot of Pokemon generating in those areas. I'll still sometimes turn it on, or I did for a while. I've kind of fallen out very, very hard with it recently. I think that they made some quality of life upgrades during COVID for like, hey, this is a game that is about going out and exploring your community. And right now, no one's going out and exploring their community. So they made some quality of life upgrades, and then they took a lot of those quality of life upgrades back, and it's never a good idea to take quality of life upgrades away from players, because then they'll just stop playing. So for a while, what was happening is like the incense that you use to like attract Pokemon to you would last for like 3 hours. It's back to lasting like 30 minutes. On community days where like a certain Pokemon would appear a lot, and so thus you're getting a lot more shinies appearing. It'll be Saturday from noon to 6, or Sunday from noon to 6. Because COVID, and we understand you can't get out as often and literally experience more, so we'll make it longer so that you can get more Pokemon or have more access to that Pokemon. They've now reduced it back to being a 3-hour window, and it's noon to 3. And I'm a piece of shit who sleeps late. So usually by the time I realize it's a community day, it's like 1 or 2, and I've got like 1 hour. And then if I want to drive somewhere that has a heavier Pokemon spawn rate, so like my house gets a meh spawn rate. The mall, because there's a lot of players in that area, is going to generate more Pokemon. So now if I want to go to the community day, I have to drive to the mall. That's fine, except now it's 1:45. By the time I drive there, it's now 2:15, and I get a solid 45 minutes of walking around, which may or may not work out okay for you. I've had days where I got a bunch of shinies, a bunch of good ones, and I was very satisfied. I've had other days where the mall was empty, and so it wasn't generating a lot of Pokemon, and now I'm walking around the mall and it's not generating anything. And that's really unsatisfying. Whereas before, when it was 6 hours, it was from 12 to 6, you got the day. And it is called a community day. So I had the initial peak, and then I dropped out, and then I tried to stay with the game, and it just kind of burnt me. Especially because at the time, my Bryn and one of my other friends were working on the college campus. So literally they had even without the device, they're on a college campus, and Bryn is on literally 4 Pokemon stops at any given time. So anytime she flips open the game, spin, 3 Pokeballs, 2 Pokeballs, a Great Ball, an Ultra Ball, 2 Ultra Balls. And she can do that every 5 minutes. She can just pop it open, spin the things, not even including the Pokemon that she's seeing on a more frequent basis. And then you will appreciate this because we were working at Meridian at the same time. Because for those who don't know, Shane and I have worked together twice. We worked together at CarMax, and then he left, went to a different job, and then he was like, "You should come here." And I was like, "You tell me how it is before I come there." And then months later, he was like, "It's still good. You should still apply." And so I did. And so we've worked together twice. When we were at Meridian, there was no Pokestops nearby. They were just close enough that you could see them and not close enough that you could do anything about it. You couldn't spin the stops. You couldn't get and we were in like a corporate office off of a back road that was near a highway. So none of those things are helpful to the Pokemon Go experience. They try not to put stuff on highways.
There's a Charizard on 695, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, like they were trying real hard not to do that. So we weren't getting any love. So I'm watching other people just like, oh, I've got 1,000 Ultra Balls, 600 Great Balls, and 900 Pokeballs. And I'm over here with like 16 Pokeballs, a Great Ball, and 2 Ultra Balls. And I'm like, well, this feels unfair. Literally based on where I work or where I spend my day, I am getting shafted on this play experience because the experience for me and Bryn are vastly different, even though we're playing the same game, just because where I have to sit for 8 hours a day. So then I ended up getting the Pokemon thing, and I don't tell Pokemon this. I just gave Bryn my login information, and she would bring her iPad to work, and she would just spin it for me. And so that kind of got me into it. And then I got the Pokemon thing so that it would spin for me and catch for me. And that kind of reinvigorated it because I wanted to, I want to see where my Pokemon are going. I want to see all this stuff. And then it just kind of fell out again because it had a diminishing return on investment. I was getting the same Pokemon over and over and over again. And trading you still can't trade at a distance, which is annoying to me because that's the whole point of trading. And they tried too hard to be a Pokemon community game while also not treating it like a Pokemon community game. And so it kind of fell in the cracks to me. So now the reason we got here is that they have announced a Pokemon, the device I was talking about is called the Pokemon Plus device. They have now invented a Pokemon Plus Plus device, and they're calling it Pokemon Plus Plus, which is the most Super Saiyan God bullshit. Oh, what are you? A Super Saiyan God? Like, that's, just call it the Pokemon, instead of calling it the Pokemon Plus Plus, call it the Pokemon Ultra device. But they're also doing a new Pokemon app called Pokemon Sleep, which is you get like a cute Pokemon and then you set your phone to sleep mode and you sleep, and it tracks your sleep to see if you're having a healthy sleep cycle, which I'm sure you're not doing anything terrible with my information, but why do you want to know, Pokemon? Why are you trying to help my sleep habits, or are you trying to track my sleep habits? I don't know why you are getting this information, but I don't like that you have it.
So are you talking about this thing here?
Yeah, so I have that. They have that version, but they also have like an off-brand version, and I have the off-brand version. Because that one is like $50, and the one I got is like $30. And then I got an upgraded version of that one. So technically I have the Pokemon Plus Plus. It's just the off-brand Plus Plus. That one, the new one is similar. It also works with Pokemon Sleep. So it's like a Pokeball, almost button-looking thing. And it tracks your sleep, but also you can take it with you. I think you can put your sleep buddy in your thing. Actually, I think it's just a Pikachu, which is annoying because, like, get off Pikachu. It's been 20 years.
I think that's their icon.
It is their icon, and I understand why. But also, you have like a 1,000 Pokemon. It's different when you picked one out of 150 to be your icon. You have added 850 Pokemon since then. Maybe let's reassess and give somebody else the spotlight. I guess Eevee kind of got a little bit of spotlight, but like, give us a different one.
Okay.
So
I was trying to see.
The Pokemon Sleep thing looks cute, and as much as I've given the, like, why do you need that data, I'll probably do it because it's cute and it's Pokemon and I like it, and I probably should track my sleep information for healthier sleep patterns to begin with. I just think it's real cute, and I'll probably play it for a little bit and then get bored of it and not do it anymore like I did with Pokemon Go. But I think it interacts with Pokemon Go now, and so that's why they're trying to do, like, a new wave of Pokemon Go, and I'm like, it's been out since 2016, and it hasn't like had like a good refresh or reboot or anything like that. And there's not a ton of story to it. So there's not a lot of replay value. I've caught most of the Pokemon. I've got a bunch of 3 stars. And I'm in this weird limbo where when you play Pokemon Go, you're either the kind of person who plays it borderline professionally so that you can play the tournaments, you can fight, you can be part of the Pokemon Go days. They have like Pokemon Go events where if you're in Chicago and you've bought a ticket, your game gets a thing and you get a special Pokemon. All that's really cool, but I just don't have the energy to give it that much energy. I don't have the desire to give it that much energy, but also if you're not doing that, there's really not a lot of reason to keep playing. And because it's the same things over and over again. What is the point of beating a gym? And that's when I get into quality of life stuff too. Like, if I put a Pokemon in a gym and it stays in that gym for 3 weeks, I still get the same amount as if I had left it in for 1 day. You get 50 coins. That's it. And they do that to deter people from hacking the game and just dropping their Pokemon in via hack and staying in there forever. And I get that. But also there should be better ways to relegate that. There should be motivations, and you can't take them out. So if I put a Pokemon, and this is, by the way, this is all information as of the last time I played, which was probably a year and a half ago. So they might have upgraded it since then, or made changes. But like, there were people who were legitimately like, I won't put my Pokemon in this really, like, oh, I found a gym in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of fucking nowhere, Iowa. And it's like, I don't want to put my Pokemon in there because no one's going to knock it out. And then I don't have that Pokemon. I can't use it for battling. I can't use it for other gyms because you can't withdraw a Pokemon. It's like, okay, well, if I can only max out at 1 day gets me 50 coins or 3 years gets me 50 coins, then let me withdraw my Pokemon. When I've hit 50, return it to me. Or ask me, do you want to leave this? Would you like to withdraw this Pokemon from the gym? And that way, like,
Yeah.
the gyms stay fresh, nobody's hoarding gyms. Or if you're like, no, this gym is on my house, so it's going to be my gym, I'm going to leave my Pokemon in there, you can. But if you want to take it out at any point so that you're not trapped in the game and not seeing any investment return, again, if you have a Pokemon that's been in there for 6 months and you're like, I don't know how to do it other than to make a second account to bump myself out, that's a problem. And it's a problem that had been around for a while that they just never fixed or never addressed. And then they started going backwards on some of those quality of life upgrades I had mentioned to you. And it was like, look, you're becoming more money grubby about it. And I don't care enough to give you the money for it. I was giving them money when I was enjoying it, when I felt there was more things to do. But that's the thing, is like, I understand with mobile games, especially free mobile games, they make their money on encouraging you to spend money on things.
So sorry guys, we had technical difficulties there. It cut out. Zach, you were talking about how like quality control for Pokemon.
So they just started taking back quality of life upgrades, and for monetization reasons, which I understand, but like more monetization started eeping in, and less reason for me to play. A lot of the reason I continued playing Pokemon Go was because of how good it was to begin with, even though they mostly got rid of that system of doing it. So I kept to it, but it's just diminishing returns every time I played. And so I just stopped playing, and now they're like, well, you can link it with Pokemon Sleep, and you can trade your Pokemon from here to there. And I'm like, cool. And I hope that the people who play Pokemon Go enjoy that. I want them to be happy. I want everybody to enjoy their experience playing it. If that's your thing, then have at it. And if I end up switching jobs or switching houses or whatever the case, where I am in a more busy area and can interact with it more, I might play it more. But like, because 85% of the time, which is home and work, I'm not anywhere near really anything that is of value, and I don't get Pokemon spawning, I don't get items spawning. I just stopped playing it because it's so much work, because then I have to give it to my wife so that she can log in, and she doesn't really play that much anymore either. I just ran out of things to do in the game. You can only collect for so long, especially when the collection process is, let me just pop it open and hope something's nearby.
Yeah.
So
I fell off pretty quick too, because I remember, and she'd be proud of like how you stuck through as far as you did, because I fell off quick when they changed the whole tracking. Remember when they had the certain tracking in the beginning where it told you, like you said, how many steps it took you to find that said Pokemon, and they took that away, and you had to like walk, and then after that you had to walk aimlessly around all the time. Like, it would at least give you.
The logic is supposed to be that, like, you're supposed to be able to see what Pokestop it's near. So what'll happen is, if I'm near, let's say there's a Pokestop there is in fact a Pokemon stop at the Mexican restaurant that's at the very end of my like neighborhood. There's like a little intersection, and you can spin the stop there. Well, that does me no good from my house, because I have to then walk to my Pokemon. It's a Mexican restaurant every time I want to do that. Yeah, but it will say, it'll show the Pokemon, and then it'll have a picture of the Mexican restaurant in the background, and then it'll say 3 steps, 2 steps, or 1 step away from that. That's problematic, because then I have to walk all the way there and then figure out from there which direction I should go. It's like, okay, well, if it's 3 steps from here, that means it's a wide. But also, that's really problematic for people who are, 2 things. If you are in a busy area, that means it becomes that much harder to distinguish which direction to go in, because it's everywhere. Or if you're in an area that's more rural and there's one Pokestop near you, well, of course, all the Pokemon are going to say that it's near that Pokestop, but there are also Pokemon appearing that won't show up on that radar because it's not near that Pokemon stop. So if my house isn't near that Pokemon stop enough to be in that 3, 2, or 1 step radius, there can still be a Cubone that appears next to my house that isn't going to appear on the map of things that are nearby, because it's not near the Pokemon stop. And so then it just devolves into what I said earlier, which is just a game where you open it to see what's nearby you, you catch what's nearby you, and then you close it. And that's not how you maintain people being on the app for long periods of time, like it was before, when you were like, here's what's near you specifically, you can go find it at any time.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sound like the whole boomer mentality of, since we're older now, and when it first came out, I'm just saying that you can't change things that when you brought your original audience in when they were a little bit younger and then change it and expect them to stick around.
You can't change it for the worse. That's the difference. Is like we've talked about the quality of life changes in traditional Pokemon that people sometimes complain about. XP share, Pokeballs being more accessible, rare candies being more accessible, XP like the XP candies that you can get in stuff. That's semantics. Whether you like them or you don't like them is different in my opinion, but you can agree that it is a quality of life upgrade. You can't take quality of life upgrades away and then expect your audience to stay. And then be mad or upset when they don't stay. So yeah, if you like it better this way, that's cool. But I think objectively, it's easy to say that it is a less desirable style of doing things.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially for a mobile AR game, which is supposed to be go out and explore the world around you. And now it's like, well, go out and explore the world around the Mexican restaurant up the street.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, I think we can end it there.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. You know, the usual outro stuff. Find us on the internet because we're there. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on not Twitch. Not on Twitch yet. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. For podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on, I don't know, if you go out into your backyard and pull a rock up, we're probably under there somewhere. We're everywhere.
I've been driving around Maryland, and I'm going to start branching out to the all United States, and I've been slipping
the continental
stuff under there. For us.
Not Alaska or Hawaii though.
No, too cold. Hawaii's too expensive.
We'll put some. But yeah, roll 4 Nerdy Check is the number 4.
Yes.
Don't forget. Roll for Nerdy Check. Give us a download. Downloads really help us out. Comments really help us out. You know, I know it's a really cliche content creator thing to say that we love our community and that we want to interact with our community more, but it's true. As much as I love talking to Shane all the time about everything, it's nice to have talking points for you guys that, you know, if there's a nerdy thing that you're interested in, let us know. We'll try to talk about it. We'll try to dive into it because we want to engage with you guys, and it's great if we're talking about what we want to talk about, which is what we do, but it's also great if we can talk about what you want to talk about. So throw in some comments, interact, let us know how you feel about what we're talking about, because nerdiness is a community, and the best way to grow and learn and to hear about other people's, you know, opinions and details and what their nerdy checks are is to interact, and we'll try to, you know, interact right back.
Yep, I have to agree with you. And you might hit on some nerdy stuff that we don't talk about, or we just we haven't thought of yet. Or you might have seen, like, hey, have you seen the new anime that came out? And we're like, no, haven't seen that yet. We'll check it out, and we'll check it out, and then we'll talk about it. There's always content that's out there that we just haven't thought of yet, but it would greatly help us if we hear from you all and let us know what you want to hear. New episodes of the podcast come out every Tuesday, so be on the lookout every Tuesday. You can go back and look. If this is their first episode, if you happen to pop on and 11's the first one you listen to,
you got 10 more to go.
10 more older ones to listen to after that.
As you're going down the list, just download.
Likes help,
because
comments help, subscribing helps.
It helps us out, and you know, I always hate when content creators don't just address the elephant in the room. It makes us money, and if it makes us money, we make money outside of this. This is something we do for fun. So if we get money and more money for the things we do, we're going to just pour them back into doing more fun stuff with our community. Like, I think we've discussed this previously of, like, if we make money on this podcast, we will just turn around and pour it back into fun stuff. I would love to do, like, I'm a pro wrestling nerd. WrestleMania season's right. I mean, we're in the thick of it. It's 4 weeks away at this point, I think, give or take. I'm part of a fantasy wrestling league. I would love to do something like that with nerdy stuff. Do a fantasy nerdy league. Talk about some cool stuff. There are a lot of cool ideas that money lets us do stuff. Money is the key to things. So doing a download gives us the ability to monetize what we're doing, and then we turn around and we do cool stuff with you guys. It's about a community for us. It's not about using money for money. We have money.
Plus, we
work
could
jobs.
have money to do giveaways and shit like that. So stuff that we can
Absolutely.
think of.
I would have loved to have done a Hogwarts Legacy giveaway. Hogwarts Legacy should be sponsoring this podcast. We've done like 4 episodes talking about it.
Yeah, definitely. But other than that, we have a gaming channel, Roll4NerdyCheck Gaming. New episodes come out on Thursdays. Again, you probably heard me say it 1,000 times again. I'm not like Zach. I haven't powered through the game as deep into it yet, but I am working through it. It won't always be Hogwarts Legacy. I really want to play Monster Hunter Rise. There's some RPGs out there that are not as big. With Chain Echoes was reckoned to me. I've looked at that. It's kind of like an old 8-bit style, but it also has newer mechanics, so it's really cool. I want to dive into that. So be on the lookout for Roll4NerdyCheck Gaming. Other than that, stay nerdy, my friends.
And may all your nerdy checks nat 20.
I like it.
Wow.